As individuals, we are strong, but as a community, we are powerful.
Tell me what you need, and I'll do what I can.
Who are we?
MSI.
Who are we?
MSI.
Who are we?
MSI.
3, 2, 1. What's up, familia? You already know this is Alan Ruelas. I'm happy to be here. This is another episode of Get Going with MSI. We are in week 11, if I'm not mistaken.
11.
Yes, and we have a very special guest by the name of
Braynt Melgar.
Yes, and I said because we're going to get down to business, and that's literally the business that we're going to be talking about. I will say, before we get this interview going, I'm going to let our brother introduce themselves, but I just want to remind everyone to take a moment to, do self-care, talk about, your mental health, your needs is what I'm referring to as we approach finals. So let's just keep that in mind, and let's give the floor to Brother Braynt.
Yeah, so hey everyone, I'm Braynt. I am a fourth year here at Cal State Fullerton. I am a sociology major with a minor in human services. I am a future social worker. I'm also a pretty big sneakerhead and probably the biggest Demi Lovato fan in the MSI Brotherhood.
Yes, and that's something we share in common. I mean, I love doing research on Demi. Very, very versatile. Mm-hmm. And what is that one word called? She is a champion. She's been through a lot, and I think that a lot of people can, really relate to her background and whatnot. So I say that because let's dive into you. Okay, yes. So the first thing I do here, Brother Braynt, how are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm probably the happiest that I've felt in the last 3 years. I am just enjoying my life right now.
Yeah? So may I ask why you are so happy just tell me.
Yeah. Why am I so happy? Probably because I as some brothers know, I recently quit my job that I was very unhappy in. We'll probably get into it a little later, but I've never felt more liberated in my life because that was a choice that I made for myself. Mm-hmm. And a choice that I made for my own benefit, and I feel so empowered now, and I'm just enjoying taking care of myself, enjoying really indulging in my education, and just preparing for what's next for me.
I think that that's a good message to echo. I want to tell us more. This is your opportunity to do storytelling because there's a lot of tea, but at the same time there's a good message there, Yeah. So I want to ask you, don't forget what you're going to say, because I got to ask you how you're really feeling.
How I'm really feeling? I am feeling, I would say, at peace.
Okay.
I feel pretty calm. I would say calm and collected, but I would say not collected. I just feel calm, like ready to take on what's next. Mm-hmm. I am just taking it day by day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's get right into this. So for a little context, y'all, Brother Braynt just shared this, regarding feeling calm, and also, your endeavors regarding putting a pause to that work, constant back to back. Elaborate to us what that means to you.
What that means, leaving this job was probably the first time in my life where I prioritized my own needs 100%. In my life, I've always been used to just thinking about other people's needs and thinking about what is best for others. But this is the first time in my life where I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to focus on my actual career goals. I mentioned I want to be a social worker in the future. I've realized after 3 years at my job that I wasn't taking the steps that I needed to take in order to reach this career goal. I was putting my job over my education, and I was also putting my job over my social life, and that pretty much drained the heck out of me. for context, I was a manager at Target. I'm not gonna bash them right now, but it was definitely an experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
It had its ups. It had a lot of downs though,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked full time.
Mm-hmm.
I worked full time, and I was a full-time student. But there were times where I was putting in more work in this job than I was in my education, and that kind of led me down a pretty rough path. I ended up having my GPA drop
Mm-hmm.
drastically. At some point in my college career, I was at a 2.7 overall GPA, and that was a bit of a wake-up call for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like reaching that GPA, while generally speaking it's not the lowest GPA, it was the lowest for me.
Yeah.
Even in high school, I had never gotten more than 1 C in a semester.
Mm-hmm.
And reaching that point, like, I realized that I need to start prioritizing my education more, because I'm paying for this education.
Mm-hmm.
While my job is paying me to do the work that I'm putting in, it wasn't worth risking every other aspect of my life.
Yeah, and I think that the more information we get, this is very valuable, because I share a similar sentiment. Before I used to work at Starbucks, those hours, they're brutal.
Mm-hmm.
It pays the bills, but this is very valuable because I think that, you presenting this, graduation is around the corner for you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I am graduating this May with a bachelor's in sociology and a minor in human services.
Yeah, so I said that because, talking about GPAs as student leaders, as students here, and our, within MSI, we work very hard and we allow our students to be the best version of themselves and reach academic success, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very good to hear this, because from one brother to another, I think that that's where we all connect, where we have different semesters and it highlights different values in different circumstances. But I say that now because it's one of two questions. You're looking forward to graduation. How does that look like, especially for the MSI graduation? And insight regarding, I guess you could say, can you elaborate more so on the work-life balance that we had mentioned?
Yes. So in regards to MSI, what I'm doing as I transition out is just really making the effort and being intentional with the connections that I have built here in MSI, with the connections that I've had with other brothers. I'm really taking the time to continue to get to know other brothers,
Mm-hmm.
Having more conversations with them and checking in on them. I think that I mentioned that when I was working, I was putting in a lot of work in this job, and my presence in MSI started to diminish a little.
Mm-hmm.
I was too busy for pretty much everything in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very rough for me, because MSI is such a great community, and I love every minute that I get to spend in not only the MSI space, but with the MSI brothers.
Yeah.
I really enjoy getting to see and talk to the brothers that are here in this space, because there's such a diverse group of students here, and everyone is on a different path with their education, but a different path with their life too. And it's always very interesting for me to get insight on that. And as I'm transitioning out of school and into the real world, I want to make sure that I leave this space having gotten the opportunity to get to know everyone in the space. So
Yeah.
I'm just talking to different brothers every day.
Yeah, I think that that's very valuable, because we build a community, especially here at MSI. That's what we do. I definitely want to give Braynt his flowers. I think that that should be a whole segment, always and forever. I think that I'm very impressed when it comes down to what you bring, who you are. You shared your background regarding work. Obviously, focusing on making the decision of saying, let me take time for myself. And let me just say that is very important, because at times we have school, work, family, everything that might encompass a very busy schedule. So I look at you and I'm like, I find new tips and tricks, if you will, to balance a schedule. I mean, do you mind sharing a little bit about your schedule regime? Because I think that I myself want to hear more and how you've been able to, be very much punctual.
Yeah, I am I've always been a perfectionist.
Okay.
I've always been someone who wants every minute of their life kind of like planned out. And the way that I've been able to kind of like, I guess, fight that perfectionism is realizing I don't need to have a plan for every day.
Okay.
However, one thing that I prioritize in my life every single day is giving myself at least an hour to do something that I enjoy. Whether that's, and doing what I enjoy like entails, maybe that'll be an hour of me organizing my shoe rack, as I have a pretty big collection of shoes. An hour of me going on TikTok. I mean, I feel like a lot of people put shame on going on social media because there may be like some toxicity in some people's lives, or it may just have a negative impact on them just going on social media. But for me, it has a positive impact because I love getting a good laugh every day. Like I love also just practicing music. I play the piano. I am still at beginner level, but I'm still giving myself the opportunity at least once a week to practice that. So just giving myself that 1 hour that I can commit to. It's not a specific hour, which is where I'm fighting my perfectionism, because when I first started doing this, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do 9 o'clock every day at night. But then I realized, 9 o'clock doesn't always work out for me. So it's just going to be when I do it. But giving myself that time every day to just do something that for me, not something for anyone else, not something that I need to do to get through work or school. Just giving myself an hour for me.
Yeah, I think that that's a valuable message as well. I think I myself need to also be implementing that. My hour is at the gym. I said this before, that's my cup of tea. I typically spend from 1 hour to 3. And that allows me to de-stress, and I think that in translation is basically self-care, Yeah. So I know that you're also very, very, very passionate about mental health. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I am very passionate about mental health because I've gone through my own fair share of struggles. And from high school, I had to go, or I made the choice of going to therapy because I wanted to not only better myself, but I was also going through a period of my life where I had a lot of struggles, and I realized that I couldn't get through my struggles alone. And going to therapy allowed me to accept that it's okay to ask for help. It's also okay to say that you're struggling, to say that you're not okay. I know there's that cheesy saying, it's okay not to be okay, which is true, but I would say it's okay to say that you're not okay. And I had to really apply that to my life. And I've been able to process a lot of what I've gone through, but it's also made me passionate about helping other people with those same struggles. I mentioned that I want to be a social worker. I want to work in a high school setting because that's where I feel the most connected. Because I went through a lot of my biggest struggles in my life in high school, and I needed someone to be there for me because that someone wasn't the people in my inner circle. That someone wasn't anyone in my family, unfortunately. So me having that that therapist that I had at that time, that therapist was my support system, and I want to be that for someone.
Yeah, I think Steve Santana with this infamous quote, be the resource you never had. I share that sentiment. And as we continue that, I think I want to chime in the idea here that MSI provides CAPS liaison. Shout out to Brother Najee and Theo. Those of you who are not aware, we have those resources. So whenever you need to talk to someone, especially when there's a crisis or you just want to like have a formal, informal session, we have that available. A lot of our brothers are able to use that. So take that with you as a resource that we're able to provide. Now back to what you were saying, I think that being the resource that you've never really had, it makes a big difference because it all boils back down to that representation. I think that you'll be a great individual in higher education, in this case K through 12. I think that high schoolers, they themselves also go through chapters in their lives that a lot of the time, because they're about to graduate, they potentially go through similar circumstances that actual adults in the big, outside of school, So I really applaud you for that, especially for that specific niche, And what actions are you taking now to go into that specific field of work?
Yeah, so what I'm doing right now is I'm working on trying to get experience working in a high school. Of course, as a high schooler, I was around the high school population, but of course, new generations have come and things have changed. So I want to be able to get that exposure and also really make sure that this is the population I want to work with. I feel it in my heart that it is, but I really do want to get that exposure to working with high school students. So I'm applying for a couple positions within LAUSD, other school districts near me. And also, I do plan on going to grad school. I'm going to be taking a year off to get work experience first and exposure to the mental health field. But I do want to get my master's in social work. I have a couple of schools in mind. Cal State Fullerton is probably my number one, not to toot their horn. But I really am trying my best to do what I need to do to push myself towards this goal.
Yeah, I think I call them besties. A lot of my besties also, look forward to continuing higher education right here at Fullerton. Although it is a commuter school for many,
yes.
This is a very tight-knit community, and in my case, I'm very happy. So I work very hard, and I think that if you're going to continue your endeavors, that's a very fabulous opportunity for you to stay here. But if you continue elsewhere, the doors are always open for you, and I think that if you're going to be doing your research, Los Angeles has a lot of opportunities where students really need those connections.
Yeah, exactly. And my desire is to work in Los Angeles because that's where I grew up. I grew up in a little community called Lincoln Heights, which is a very a community that's very needing right now. There's a lot of need for mental health practitioners in that area because these kids go through quite a lot of struggles, and a lot of people don't have support from their families. Some people end up turning to substances to find relief. Some people end up turning to crime to get that high. And I think that I would want to be able to give back to that community that I grew up in, because me being able to get that resource growing up definitely has led me to where I'm at today. Me being able to gain back the power that I thought I had lost as a child has allowed me to be able to go through these last 4 years strong. I'm very happy to be finishing off my college education strong, and I'm also very happy with who I am at the moment.
Yeah, I think going back to the idea of giving folks their flowers, shout out to you for allowing that to happen. Realistically speaking, we have give or take moments to meet people, but we don't know their entire story.
Exactly.
Unless they share it with us and we have those moments. But for you to be here, that is a milestone achievement. So the flowers are given similar to other folks where we sit down. That's why we're going to have our graduation, specifically with MSI, because we like to highlight, especially men of color, who are defying statistics and breaking barriers and making the most out of their lives to just do what that makes them happy. So I think that that's worthy of having another moment to just stop and simmer that in, because if you really do think about it, you're reaching the fullness of your potential.
Yes.
So I really want to salute you to that. Now, talk to me about self-image. You had mentioned, that younger self of yours, that power. Connect those two and then kind of like let us know.
Yeah. I am very, like I said, I'm very proud of the person I am today, because I've really learned to accept, one, the body that I'm in, but also accept who I am as a person. I have explored a lot of just a lot of my personal image. I have made changes to my own self-care too, which has benefited me a lot. I would say, like, if you were to look at a picture of me from 5 years ago and compare it to now, that's not the same person. Maybe the same face, because I do have a little bit of a baby face, but I've learned to accept that. I've learned to accept that I look younger than I am, and that's pretty cool, because when I get old, like 50, 60, like, I won't be as wrinkled, hopefully, as long as I'm taking care of my skin, which I've learned to do too. Through trial and error, I have tried a lot of different skincare routines, and I think I finally found the one that's best for me. And I've also explored my fashion too. I used to wear a lot of really tight clothes, because internally that's how I was. I was very tight and closed off to people.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good way to look at it. Okay.
Yeah. And me wearing more loose clothes is kind of a representation of me letting myself become more loose. Letting loose in general. I've become a lot more expressive of myself, not hiding what my passions are, not hiding the things that I enjoy. I used to feel ashamed of myself for liking the things that I did. I used to feel ashamed because I liked pop music, but I realized that who cares? Like, that's what I enjoy. I love going to pop concerts. I mentioned in the beginning that I'm like a big fan of Demi Lovato, and I'm not ashamed to say that anymore, because I've learned that I need to embrace what I love, because that's what makes me who I am. I need to embrace the things I enjoy, because it's a part of me, and no one can take that part away from me.
What's wrong with being confident, ladies and gentlemen? Everyone between. So I said, because Demi Lovato, if you're hearing this is a die-hard stan. Obviously, that'll be such a stretch, but I only said it because I also share that sentiment with pop culture. To me, it's very embraced in who I am, what I do. It's just the pop girls and the pop gals and everyone, they make a difference. And I think that I'm happy to hear that you're able to share that, who you are, the symbolism behind your clothing, and everything that you've been able to share. I think that comes down to the idea of, self-image. I myself often think about these things as well, because, times change, but also you are allowed to be who you want to, no matter no matter the circumstance. Because at the end of the day, it's your life.
Yeah, it is my life at the end of the day. And I think that also MSI has allowed me to also embrace myself more, because through everything that I've learned in MSI, I've realized that the things that I do don't make me less masculine. My idea of masculinity has shifted since the moment I got to MSI. And I've also been able to learn that the things that I do don't make me any less of a man. The things that I express myself with don't make me any less of a man. My identity is mine. And I get to choose with that.
Yeah, and there's power of knowing that you're not put in a box. Because labels, let me tell you something, you express yourself how you want to. And I'm glad you share that sentiment, because boiling it back to MSI, you know, I feel very fortunate here having this conversation with you, because it showcases a story. It showcases your truth, and it showcases your values, you know, with mental health, with self-image, and of course having a nice work-life balance, if you will. Especially having these conversations allows us to really focus on you as an individual rather than a percentage.
Yeah, exactly. I also think, I agree with that, and I think that I'm more than just a statistic. And I am proud to say that I bring value to this campus. Whether everyone sees that or not, that doesn't matter. What matters is that I see it.
Ah, Brian, I feel it. I feel the words. I say that because I definitely do see it, and this is what I love to hear and see, and especially the evolution of brothers. You know, I have the opportunity to work with so many, and I think that highlighting you for this week is definitely an honor. I say this because I often learn from other people. I give credit where credit is due, and in this case, you know, I feel inspired whenever I talk to you. And I think that, you know, moving forward in your endeavors, you're very much worthy and very equipped to do so. So always have that in the forefront. I know you do. And then is there anything that I missed that you would like to share with us here within MSI?
I mean, well, first of all, thank you so much for those kind words. I feel so honored to even have a space to share a little bit of my story, to be able to empower other people as well. And I hope that I can empower someone who watches this, because it's taken me a while to realize my impact. The impact of my presence. I think for the longest, one thing that I missed is, like, for the longest time, I didn't see myself as someone who was enough. And I didn't see myself as someone even worthy of taking up space. And I think that I'm just so happy to know that I am enough. I am worthy of taking up space. And it's okay for me to take up space.
Definitely. I also agree to that. I feel like for all the students in general, I think that this is like an amazing PSA. Take up space. I second that, and I definitely feel that. And I'm glad that you feel that way. And then, you know, like, the things that you will be doing, continue feeling that way. And I often say this because you got to spearhead your initiative. And I think that that's a very empowering message. I would even put that in a banner, you know? But I say that because it's very beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very important to realize that, or to get to that point of realizing that your presence is enough. That you're worthy of taking up that space. You're worthy of being who you are. And if you're not in that moment right now, that's okay.
And I said because I was just thinking of Demi Lovato. Sorry, not sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's wrong? I just keep thinking about all this. But overall, Braynt, I'm very happy and I'm honored, and I appreciate you coming on over and letting us know. If y'all ever want to talk to Brother Braynt, literally available. Coolest person I've literally sit down with. The more you talk, the more you feel like the conversation is alive. And I saw that today with Jobin as well. So, keep it up, and then the MSI space is all yours, quite literally. Here, all the brothers, the open door policy, come on in, 8 to 5. You have the resources on Instagram, the website. We have caps. math tutoring, and we have, of course, our mentors. So, mi casa, tu casa is what I'm trying to say. So
Exactly, and we've got it all.
quite literally, y'all. So that concludes the end of our episode today. Thank you for tuning in. This is your host with the most, Alan Ruelas. I love empowering others and hearing their stories. So shout out to
Braynt.
yes, and we hope to have y'all for the very next episode. And 3, 2, 1, adios.